Hi everyone, it's Kelly. Today I'm going to be telling you a story of Baba Yaga. I got the idea from Jane Yolen's book, The Flying Witch, and I thought I would tell her version for you today. Before we begin though, you need to know 3 things about this Baba Yaga. First, her house is not an ordinary house. It stands on 2 chicken legs so that she can run around and confuse people so that no one can get into her house. Number 2, she travels the world in a mortar and pestle. That's usually something used to grind up herbs and spices. The mortar is the bowl and the pestle is the stick. And she uses the mortar as a car-y kind of thing and the pestle as her kind of steering wheel. And the third thing is Miss Baba Yaga enjoys eating children. Baba Yaga was hungry. She traveled through the forest in her mortar and pestle, looking around for something to eat. Clickety-clack, whir-whir went her pestle. Suddenly, she looked down and saw a little girl walking. The little girl had fallen asleep in her father's turnip truck and had kind of rollen off onto the path. This was not something she was terrified of, but she knew that she needed to get home before dark because she'd heard her father's stories. Suddenly, the little girl looked up, and hovering above her head was Baba Yaga. Now, this little girl was a very smart little girl, and she knew the stories that her father and mother had told her, and she knew that Baba Yaga enjoyed to eat children. The little girl was nervous, but she also knew that she had a good brain in her head, and she knew that she had 2 strong arms and 2 strong legs that would help her get back to her dad. "Hello, little girl," said Baba Yaga, smiling. "I'm quite hungry. Do you think you'd come to my house for dinner? You look very tasty." The little girl gave a weak smile and said, I'm not very plump. I'm not very tasty, but I can help you. If you promise to fatten me up, then sure, you can eat me." And Baba Yaga thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. So they went, she picked up the girl in her mortar and pestle and they soared off into her house in the middle of the woods. Now, at this time, the little girl's father was a turnip farmer, and he liked to sell his turnips in the market. The little girl was a smart little girl, as we mentioned before, and she told Baba Yaga that in order to plump her up so she was yummy yummy to eat, that she would need to go to the farmer's market and purchase every single turnip from the turnip seller in the market and bring it back, and the little girl would make a stew, and they would eat the stew together, and then the little girl would get so plump. Breakfast or lunch or dinner or whatever Baba Yaga liked to do with children. Baba Yaga thought about it and thought, this is a good idea. So she locked the little girl in her house with legs, and she told her house, no running away, I need you to stay where you are. And she went in her mortar and pestle and went to the farmer's market in the middle of town. When she arrived, she found the farmer. She bought up all of his turnips, and everyone in the farmer's market was terrified, and they were thinking, why is she buying turnips and not taking our children? But the farmer thought, well, Baba Yaga's money is as good as anyone else's, so he sold all of his turnips to her, and she loaded them into her mortar, and she hopped on in, and she went on back to her house. Well, the problem with buying all of the turnips is that they weighed a lot, and so the mortar was not used to all the weight, so it kind of hung lower in the air. Well, the turnip farmer thought, wonder what Baba Yaga is doing with all these turnips. So he hopped in his truck and he followed the low-flying Baba Yaga to her house in the middle of the woods. He hid, crouched behind, and looked and saw her enter the house and open the door, and inside he saw his daughter. Oh no, he thought, this is not good. She's going to eat my daughter, because that's what Baba Yaga does. So after waiting a few moments so that Baba would know that he didn't follow her, he walked up to the house and he asked it to turn around, and believe it or not, it did. And he opened the door and he found his daughter feeding Baba Yaga some turnip soup. And as he opened the door, he heard Baba say, oh, this is really good. I think I might eat this instead of children. And the little girl smiled a sly smile and turned to her father and said, well, hi, Dad, would you like some soup? And Baba Yaga decided that from that time on, she would try turnips first and then children. Thank you.